South Bay Buzz with Megan Lebre is brought to you by Orange Door Spaces. Host your next foodie event at Orange Door Spaces, a 25,000 square foot creative space in the South Bay Galleria at Redondo Beach. From supper clubs to cookie decorating classes to private tastings, you bring the flavor, they've got the vibe. Welcome, everybody, to the inaugural episode of South Bay Buzz. I'm Megan Lebre. I am the founder and digital creator of South Bay Buzz, and I am here with my friend, Jason Cervantes. Thank you for agreeing to be the very first guest on the South Bay Buzz podcast.
So happy to be here. It's a big honor. Thank you for having me.
I feel like we should do a little cheers moment. Shall we grab our coffee and soda? Cheers. Thank you. Jason, I first found you because I was sitting at a McDonald's, my kid, and a couple of her friends, and they were playing in the little play structure. And one of my friends said, "Hey, have you been to lil Vegerie?" And I said, "I've heard of it. Remind me where it is." And she proceeded to tell me Nob Hill and PCH. And I said, "I have cruised by there numerous times, and I've always wanted to go in." And then she told me no less than 10 reasons why I should go. And so then I made sure that I was there about a week later, and my mind was blown. It was some of the best food I've ever had. And then I got in touch with you because I really wanted to spotlight it and I wanted to know more about your story. And then here we are today. I'm just so thankful that you're here. So without further ado, I really want the audience to get to know you and the story of lil Vegerie and beyond. For those that don't know you, Jason, please tell us who you are, what you do, and your connection to the South Bay.
What a nice intro. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
And thanks to your friend for helping spread the word.
Yeah, shout out to Hannah.
A little bit about myself. Born and raised in Los Angeles. Proud of that. Family-owned restaurants growing up, little mom and pop Mexican shops, and I just loved it right away. I was a dishwasher when I was 6, and I guess my dad just wanted to instill work ethic in me. I was bussing tables when I was 8, and I was waiting tables when I was 10. I stopped during high school to focus on sports and studies and stuff. I remember missing it. The action and excitement of the restaurant work, and then I got back in right after high school. I always wanted to surf. Got a surfboard around at the time when I was 20, and I was making the commute down from Glendale, where I grew up, and decided I wanted to move down here and try and get good at the surfing thing, and then worked in restaurants ever since. And worked in all the corporate places as a waiter, and then ended up working at some fancy spots and like the fancy restaurant kind of thing. And then thankfully was able to go from server to manager to higher management to director, and then ended up luckily being an owner. Yeah.
Here we are. Many listeners will know the very delightful and famous restaurant, Gracias Madre. Can you tell us your experience there?
Scarlett's my fiance, lil Vegerie's co-founder and the champion of our nice, fun, fresh decor. We were going to Gracias Madre to explore plant-based food and all the cool stuff you could do with it. I decided that we were going to try and open our own place. And we said, let's go to Gracias Madre to have dinner and celebrate. So we're having dinner at Gracias Madre, and we're like, what's first thing? We need a chef. But where are we going to find a vegan chef to make our food? Because my background in restaurants is front of the house. And I asked the server, hey, by any chance, does the chef here ever consult? And she goes, I don't know, let me check. I thought she was going to say it was going to be a hard no, but she goes to check for us. And then I'll never forget, I'm sitting there, and towards the back of the dining room, you see the bright light of the kitchen, and then out comes the silhouette of the chef. And I remember the shadow of him walking towards us, and I saw him coming, and he sits with us, and he's, so what's going on? And I didn't know at the time that so this is the executive chef of Gracias Madre, and he was thinking of leaving. So when the server asked him if he ever consulted, actually, I do. He sat with us and told him our vision, and from that moment on, he was on board. He created our initial first menu. I brought investors to his house for tastings, and we ended up losing him because he had an opportunity to open his own place. Instead of being on board with ours, he opened one of the coolest plant-based restaurants I've ever been to. Thankfully, we were able to pivot and find somebody that worked out obviously wonderfully. Shout out Eileen Elizabeth.
Yeah,
That was the story of Gracias Madre.
that's amazing. Can you tell us about Scarlett and how your relationship shaped this culinary journey?
I've gone through kind of spurts where I will eat healthy and exercise and be my best, and then I'll get back into bad habits. I chased Scarlett around for 10 years. She's so beautiful, and I always had the biggest crush on her. And I was always just kind of, hey, come on, give me a chance. And it was always like, ill, no. And then, but when I actually started courting her in a gentlemanly way, it started to pan out. And thankfully, and she is so committed to nutrition and health and well being in as many different ways as she can attack it: yoga, physical fitness, meditation, the spiritual side of all of it. And nutrition is a giant piece of her journey and feeling her best. And so when we started hanging out, she shone a whole new light on what it really means to really eat clean and mindfully. And little by little, I started like reading ingredients, like on all these things that you think are so good for you, but you look at the boxes and there's a bunch of chemicals in there. Hanging out with her, now my healthier moments were getting even more healthy. It was actually from doing a cleanse with her where the light bulb started to go off. If you really want to eat clean food, it's hard to find a restaurant that's doing that stuff. More and more, it started to wear on me like, hey, what if we did our own? And it all was largely influenced by her.
It's really beautiful because the story of the two of you is that you really had this friendship from the beginning. And yes, there was the crush on the other side for you, and it came to be. And from talking with you, a lot of this did come about during the pandemic when you were quarantined. Was there a specific dish that you created during that time, especially, or like a moment where it really was like that light bulb moment of, hey, this food is really good?
Yeah, I'm glad I thought of it. And I think it's how you phrase the question. Thank you. Because I do remember the exact moment. He goes by Medical Medium. He has volumes of books that he writes all about how food affects our well-being and focuses on different organs like our brain, our liver and stuff, and how by eating the right things we can keep our organs operating in an optimal way. But we're doing this cleanse: no oil, no sugar, no salt, no caffeine.
Whew.
It was a 9-day cleanse. On day 3, I was like, Scarlett, I can't do this. I can't live like I was sitting on the couch, white knuckling. Oh my God, 9 days. It was day 4 or 5. I'm throwing together this smoothie on the recipe list. I remember slamming stuff into the blender. I'm just like, I don't want to live like this. And it was banana, pitaya, dragon fruit, and blueberry.
Okay.
And water. And I'm throwing it together and I'm like, ring, it's playing. I'm like, howdy, I want a cheeseburger and I want fried rice. And I turn off the smoothie and I pour it in. And right away I look and I'm like, wow, this thing's beautiful. It had the dragon fruit, has this beautiful purple, pinkish, magenta, kind of like a deep sunset. And I go to drink it and it was so delicious. I almost fainted. Oh my God. This cleanse that I'm about to freak out over because it's so boring and life stealing. I have the smoothie and I'm like, oh my God, this is so good. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is 3 ingredients and they're all good for me. And it's this delicious. Oh my God. And that was when I started. Now I go back and I'm looking at all these recipes on this cleanse. And I'm like, can we share this with the world? Is this something? And I start calling chefs. I'm like, hey, can we make a menu with no oil, no sugar, no salt? Everybody's no, absolutely not.
Yeah, especially the salt, I feel like, like you watch cooking shows and they're all like, there's not enough salt.
So part of enjoying a meal is the comforting component of it. That's why I was freaking out. But it did show me that if we're thoughtful and we really seek it out, we can maybe not go that extreme, but somehow mimic that in a thoughtful way that exactly captures the enjoyment on both ends of it. Enjoy it while I eat it, and then afterwards also be like, wow.
It's so funny that you brought that smoothie up in particular, because as you were talking about it, I had a sensory experience thinking about your aqua frescas. And then as you're describing the colors, I thought about the mural in Little Vegerie. And that's such a neat component as well, where you're pulling in your taste and then you're pulling in the visual sense of it, because that's eating. It should be all of your senses having this experience, which is really beautiful. But you just touched on something that I find important in personal and professional life, which is joy. So could you share what brings you the most joy in your day-to-day, and how do you infuse work-life integration?
I'm thankful that I followed the signs and trusted a path in hospitality. It is notorious for being so demanding. One of the sacrifices I've had to make is for sure family. And so I'm blessed that I try and marvel in the ordinary. Depending on the day, it's so many things. We have little Koa at home. He's 14
Yeah.
months, and I have a 20-year-old. So I've lived those younger formative years, and it's so nice to experience them again. The little milestones that we don't even think about because we've been alive for so long, but watch a new life, I'm sure you experience. So beautiful. We went to Carlsbad for a couple of days, and he would wake up really early. And so I'd let Scarlett sleep, and then I would take him, like being there with him, and I'd do a couple of emails and play with him. That is a big part of what keeps me going. I really enjoy trying to share my excitement for hospitality with people and to have teams of people, that some people who are excited about it, who I'm able to transmit that excitement, and they ask me how I would navigate a certain conversation or how I would share something with a guest that comes across in a nice way. And then the people that don't really care to be observant of how staff treats people, and do they do things that are warm and friendly that come across in a nice way. That's brought me a lot of joy, sharing my experience in hospitality with those that will have it. When I exercise and I reset, it gives me those moments to relish in the gratitude of how lucky I am to live in the South Bay and to experience a place by the beach that also has all this cool energy.
I feel the same way. Both of what you said about just finding the extraordinary in the ordinary moments. I think children really do help in a lot of ways. To your point about whether it's a walk by the beach, I find it in those conversations with people, business owners. I was out in Arcadia yesterday and I went in. This is not going to be a surprise to anybody. I find local businesses no matter where I go, and I want to know them and I want to know their story. I had the most delightful conversation from this family and their cafe, and they're from Oaxaca, Mexico. We bonded over the fact that they were following a restaurant here in Redondo and making those connections. I think the world moves really fast and we can get really caught up in our own things, but it's those connection points, whether it's with our own family or with our community, they really mean the world.
As you were sharing that, I thought of something really cool about what you do. In the same way, one of the things I loved about working in nice restaurants is wine. Not everybody realizes the romance and the story behind every bottle. And you see a bottle of wine and a label, but so much has gone into that in that moment as it served your table. I love that what you do captures that same thing with small businesses. Not everybody realizes that behind every storefront is a whole beautiful story.
I hate that the pandemic happened. That's a given. I think for me, it really helped me look at my values and how I spend my time, how I spend my money, and how do I invest in my community. And that's really how South Bay Buzz came to be. And I'm so thankful for it.
Yeah, same. As scary as it was for us, because there was a moment there where you couldn't tell what was going to happen with hospitality. Everything's closed, and we knew maybe that restaurants would come back, but when everything was closed, and as weird as it got, it's like, are they going to?
Yeah.
If that never happened, I would not have been able to carve out the time, because I was running restaurants and I would have never had time to put this plan together.
Calling all chefs, bakers, and food lovers, your dream event space is here. Orange Door Spaces, a 25,000 square foot space, allows you to host everything from cookie decorating workshops to supper clubs. One of the best parts about Orange Door Spaces is that you can really let your imagination go wild with possibility. Whether you want to bring in your own caterer or you're going to host a food tasting or a class, bring everything you need. You serve up the food, they'll serve up the vibes. Sounds like a great collaboration to me. Together, you can make it unforgettable.
As you're thinking about your legacy here in the South Bay, what do you hope to leave as a lasting impact?
I try and take it one day at a time, but I do follow the signs and set goals that may be realistic. I think back to when the alarm started to go off that I really should pursue a shot at our own restaurant. The whole idea is to share with the community an opportunity to enjoy a meal and then also have it promote health and help people live longer. I think of the good stuff and the Brothers Burritos and the shops in every beach town. To be able to reach that level of success where we cast a wide web so that everybody has a little Vegerie nearby. I want to eat something healthy, but I want to enjoy it too. It's been a stressful day. I want something comforting, but I want to feel good too. I think that if I could accomplish that and then do that in more cities and share that experience with more people. And with Paradise Bowls, you mentioned one of our partners acquired them, and then I get to help run them all. And part of the excitement with that was where with lil Vegerie, we have the savory component that appeals to a more mature crowd. And then the Paradise Bowls, the smoothies and the fruit and the colors appeals to more of the younger crowd. So the exciting part there is we cover all the angles and we have a nice big opportunity where whole families can come and enjoy.
Absolutely. I can imagine my Saturday would be I'm going to go exercise and then go get my Paradise Bowl. And then maybe later in the day, go to lil Vegerie to get my 7-layer Slayer. I promise I'll venture out and try something different, but I don't know. That thing has a hold on my heart. Although at lil Vegerie, I did try tuna bowl and it is shocking.
Yeah.
It's not tuna, it is chickpea.
Chickpeas,
But you could be completely fooled.
Yeah.
And the flavor, it is divine.
One thing from having conversations with people that know this world even more than me is that the idea that if you take a steak or a chicken breast or something and you boil it, nothing on it, it doesn't taste good.
Yeah.
It's how you dress it up, how you season it, the marinade that you add to it. So with that in mind, you can take chickpeas like we do with the tuna vibe that we make, or beets or potatoes or mushrooms. There's this giant world of textures in produce that you can create to make a perfectly balanced meal.
It was not only just a wonderful experience for the taste buds, but I felt so satiated. And I didn't even finish my whole meal. I was able to take it home, and it was a really wonderful lunch the next day. And my husband was like, "Oh, is that for me?" I said, "Absolutely not. You can go get your own."
Thankfully, most people love our food, but sometimes they walk in with big expectations, or for whatever reason, there's a chance that people may not like it. I'm so excited to share this food with the world that I say it all the time. If somebody comes and has a bowl and for whatever reason is not their favorite, let us know so we can make you something else. And it's not about a repeat customer, or it's not about generating new business. It's all about sharing this. And if we miss an opportunity for somebody to go, "Oh my God, healthy food can taste so good." If we miss that on the first try, I want to try again for that, because it really, to open somebody's mind to eating this way where they wouldn't have initially trusted it or something, is one of the most exciting things.
That says so much about you all and your values and really what you stand for. I think that's great. All right, so we've come to our last question. If you could share one meal that represents your journey, especially here in the South Bay.
As far as what it would be, I'd have to say tacos. Initially, a long time ago, it might have been with some fancy restaurant at some beachside venue with the sunset and these 30 courses all exquisitely prepared, which is all great. But what I love about a taco is that it is, like we talk about the story and the history, like it's usually on the side of a road somewhere, right? So that already is like cultural, depending on where you are. And you start with a tortilla, which if you're lucky, they hand patted it right there.
Exactly.
But not always. It doesn't have to be, but that's like next level when it is. Then you have some usually deliciously stewed meat of some kind. The marinade has been handed down generation upon generation, was made at some point by some grandmother. And then you have this perfect tortilla, this stewed meat, and then they hit it with the diced onion and cilantro, which gives it the crunch and then a little bit of sweetness, but like that acidity, and then the salsa, right? Another thing that's been handed down, who knows how many generations, that gives it that next layer of life and freshness, a little spice. It's this perfectly concocted little handheld thing you're gonna eat.
Yeah.
And then the lime ties it all together like a squeeze. For me, it takes me to some beachside, a street corner somewhere, but now my senses have taken me on vacation, usually with a Corona or something, or not. And then it's that first bite, and it's usually just a few bites. And I guess the first person that comes to mind is the gentleman who inspired lil Vegerie. It's crazy to set out to open a restaurant. Everything in me was like, absolutely not. You're not going to do this. Get back in line. Go back to work. And then my favorite guitar player ever, his name's Trey Anastasio. He's the leader of the band Fish. He writes songs on his own. During the pandemic, he wrote a song called Evolve. I sat down to watch this new release. He wrote the lyrics on a sheet, and as the lyrics came up in the song, he put them in front of the screen. And then during the chorus, in big blue letters in his writing, was the word evolve. And he just made it dance. And then the way the music unfolded it just screamed at me that's what I had to do. And I would love to tell him the story about that and thank him for doing that, because I've followed the guy around the country to go to shows forever, but he had to be committed to what he did in his craft and to keep doing it and to keep writing new stuff. And if he hadn't have done that, I don't know if because that was the moment I was like, I got to do this, no turning back. And so to have a taco and thank him would be really cool.
If you're out there and if you can somehow make this happen, we would be eternally grateful.
Yeah.
We're down here in Redondo.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that, Jason.
Last thing, I think it would be helpful for anybody watching. If we couldn't get a hold of Trey, I would do it with whoever I was most upset with in that moment. We could all use is that spirit of forgiveness with somebody that you're so upset with, because it's freeing out for both sides.
Yes.
So whoever I was upset with in that moment, because I don't get my way a lot, and when I don't get my way, I get upset, and then I'm like, and then I ruin my day and other people's day.
Yeah.
So to share a taco with somebody that I was mad at in hopes of the spirit of forgiveness would be cool too.
Okay, I didn't see that answer coming on top of Trey, so that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate that. Also, tacos is LA. That is our food. And it ties in your whole story together. That's so wonderful.
Happy to share.
You are a delight, and I knew you had to be the first guest. I'm so thankful for you.
Giant honor.
Tell our South Bay Buzz fam where they can find you in person and online.
Thanks. lil Vegerie, southeast corner of Nob Hill and PCH in beautiful South Redondo Beach. It's a little takeout place, but we try to make it nice and inviting, and we have blankets for when it's cold, and we'll provide a complimentary hot tea if that's helpful for your enjoyment.
And if I may, there's also beautiful flowers right on the sidewalk where there's your tables.
Native
Gorgeous.
plants.
Native plants.
Yeah. Shout out Mike Garcia, Enviroscape LA. I didn't even know about native plants until he came in. He's vegan for the environment, and native plants contribute to the ecosystem. And Mike just decked out our little patio area with all native plants, and they're thriving right now. They're so beautiful, and they feed the pollinators.
It's perfect for your space.
We're so blessed. That's yes. And Instagram is at lil Vegerie, LilVegerie. We hope to see you there. ParadiseBowls.com, Instagram, Paradise Bowls, acai, pitaya smoothies, Hermosa Beach, Manhattan Beach, and we're opening 2 new stores, one in Marina Del Rey early summer, and then one in Westlake Village around the fall.
Amazing. Thank you again, Jason. And thank you to everyone who tuned in. We'll be doing new episodes weekly, so stay tuned. Thank you for being a part of the movement to shop small and support local. We'll see you next time.